What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you a bunch of different exhaust options for your N52. This video is about 5 years in the making. I've tested numerous different exhaust setups in search of finding the best sounding N52 exhaust. In this video, I'm going to play sound clips from each setup that I've tried and also a couple videos from other people with great sounding setups. And I'll also talk a bit about each exhaust setup and how it sounded in person. In this first video, we're just watching a stock N52 with only the muffler and secondary cats deleted. This is a great budget setup for pretty much anyone. There's minimal drone on this setup. It sounds great from the interior. It's a good exhaust note from outside. This is probably the best bang for the buck setup for noticeable change. It sounds pretty similar to just the muffler delete, but deleting the secondary cats will get you more pops and make the exhaust note a little bit more aggressive. The second video here is a muffler and resonator delete. This isn't my car, this is a video I found on YouTube. I'll tag them in the description. I've never personally ran a muffler and resonator delete, but I have done a muffler, secondary cat, and resonator delete, and it was a bit too loud for me, and it did have drone. A lot of people do like the muffler and resonator delete from ECS Tuning. It's pretty cheap and it's a bolt-on setup, so if you're not looking to do headers or anything like that, that's a decent setup without needing any fabrication. And this next video is one of my favorite setups for a stock exhaust manifold N52. I'll link their YouTube in the description. He has a stock exhaust with the resonator deleted and 135i muffler. This sounds fairly close to the performance exhaust setup from BMW, which is a resonator delete and a modified muffler. Based on my experience with the 135 muffler, I don't foresee any drone with this setup. Now moving on to setups with headers, the main difference with headers is the exhaust will sound about twice as loud on any given setup. So with stock exhaust manifolds, you could get away with a muffler delete, resonator delete, stuff like that. Once you install headers, generally you do want to have a resonator and a muffler for a reasonable exhaust volume, and it does take a little bit more effort to make the car sound good with catless headers installed. Here's an old video of my car with the stock 330i exhaust and AliExpress headers, which are replicas of the active Autowork. This setup sounds basically stock at idle and low RPMs, so when you're driving around town, it won't draw any attention. But once you get on the gas, it does have a more aggressive tone, but it's not obnoxious at all, and it has zero drone. So if all you care about is performance while maintaining a quiet daily driver, then this is a great setup to go with. So here's my car with catless headers and stock secondary cats and a Magnaflow muffler. And I'll put links to all these exhaust parts in the article. I'll have a full article written up about this video, and it will have every setup with links and parts list on how to do it yourself. This setup sounded really good. I was actually surprised at how good it sounded with for basically just headers and muffler. This setup wasn't obnoxious at all, totally comfortable to daily drive, and actually no drone at all. It did have a good amount of pops. If you wanted to be more aggressive than this, you could also run this with secondary cats deleted. Now here's probably the most obnoxious setup I've had. It's headers, secondary cat delete, stock resonator, and muffler delete. This actually made my ears ring after doing pulls in it. I wouldn't recommend it unless you're a teenager. It's absolutely way too loud. It doesn't sound very good. It's a very messy exhaust note. If all you care about is shooting flames or stuff like that, this might be a good setup for you. But if you want a more refined exhaust note, this is definitely not it. This is definitely a cop magnet exhaust setup and will draw a lot of attention to you while you're driving. All right guys, little ad break here. I recently released N52 merch on my website, babautoparts.com. You can find the link in the description. I've got N52 hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, a flag, and some beanies as well. I will be giving away a hoodie to one of you guys. Just like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I'll pick one of you guys and announce the winner next weekend. I appreciate all you guys that support the channel. Up next, we've got the same setup, except I added an HKS replica muffler and also put the secondary cats back on. Putting the secondary cats back on and adding a muffler really helped with the messy exhaust note, and it sounded much better. It was still very loud and still had a lot of drone, but it sounded much better than basically a full straight pipe. Up next we have headers with a full stock exhaust, so stock secondary cats, resonator, and the only change is an N54 135i muffler. This really helped with the drone. The OEM type mufflers really cut through drone effectively. This was a good daily setup. There wasn't any drone in the cabin, but it was very loud from outside, although quieter from the last couple setups. The 135i does give it a very aggressive, high-pitched note. I drove on this setup for quite some time. I think this is a pretty unique and decent sounding setup. Now we've got the same exact setup here, except I've removed the secondary cats. I think this ruined the sound of the exhaust. It did increase the pops a lot and it gave it some backfire. However, the note was very high pitched and kind of tinny, and I think it sounded better with the secondary cats installed. If someone else was to do this setup, I would recommend replacing the secondary cats with Vibrant 1792 resonators to help keep the exhaust note clean.
Uh-huh.
Here we have headers with stock secondary cats, and there's a Y pipe right behind those, and that goes into an ultra quiet resonator and a Vibrant TPV muffler. The setup sounded absolutely sick from outside. It had a really cool note to it, but it had absolutely horrid drone inside the interior. I sold this setup to a friend who had stock exhaust manifolds, and it sounded much better on his car, and he was happy with it. But once you add in the headers, the drone is pretty bad. The setup here is headers with a secondary cat delete and a Vibrant ultra quiet resonator with a Megan Racing universal muffler. I don't remember much drone on this setup. It sounded pretty good, but the tips on the universal muffler didn't line up at all, and it looked pretty bad. Here's some old clips of my car with headers, secondary cat delete, and a full 335 exhaust. I used the E90 exhaust, which comes with a resonator. If you use the E92 exhaust, it will come with an X pipe and it'll be a bit louder. I don't recall if this exhaust had drone or not. I don't think it had a lot, if any. You will have to reflange the 335 exhaust to connect to the N52 headers. You'll also need to relocate the charcoal canister to fit the dual mufflers, and you'll also need to delete the trunk storage bin or use a 335i storage bin. You'll also need a 335i rear bumper support and rear bumper. This exhaust setup is from one of the OGs of the N52 scene. This is Alphonse Monthi. His username is Big and Boca on E90 Post. Many of you are familiar with him. Shout out to him. This is one of the best sounding exhausts in my opinion. I'll link his YouTube in the description. Check him out. He's done a ton for the N52 community. So his full setup is the active Autowork headers with the Super Sprint Section 1, which is a nice secondary cat delete with a bigger diameter pipe, and the factory resonator with the AA muffler. I haven't heard this setup in person, but based on his posts and the videos he sent, he didn't experience much drone, and it sounded really good, and it had a nice aggressive note to it. The exhaust tip fitment on these mufflers is absolutely fantastic as well. Up next, we have an absolutely S-tier setup from my good friend Jake Mueller, the Racing Jake on YouTube. I'll link his YouTube as well in the description. Check him out. He's another one of the N52 OGs. He's one of the few people with this exhaust, and I don't think many people would know about it if it wasn't for his videos. So shout out to Jake. His full setup is active Autowork headers with a full Lapto exhaust. This is an exhaust imported from Japan. It is super sick. The main difference between this exhaust and other options is that it's fully equal length, which gives the exhaust an absolutely unique tone. Some people do compare it to a VQ, but I think this sounds much better than a VQ, and it's a very clean exhaust note. I have heard this exhaust in person on someone else's car, and it does sound really good, and the interior drone is very minimal. Here we have my car again with a custom valved exhaust I had made with a Flowmaster merge at the transmission mount, a Vibrant 17950 resonator, and a Vibrant street power muffler. The valve portion opens up before the muffler, so it's essentially a straight pipe with just the resonator in the middle. With the valve closed, it did have some drone, and with the valve open, it absolutely droned and was ear-piercingly loud, but it did sound pretty sick. I think this is probably the best sounding straight through setup you can get. An important thing to note with these 3-inch single exhausts on N52, it really makes a difference where you place the Y pipe. If you place it closer to the header flanges, you'll have a smoother exhaust note, but you will lose power. If you pull it back towards the transmission mount, the exhaust note won't be as clean, but you'll have the most optimized exhaust and the best power band. I've dyno tested this back to back, and it did have a good dip in mid-range torque when the Y pipe was as close to the engine as it could be. This video is the same setup as last time, but with S54 headers and the valve closed, so it's going through the street power muffler. In order to run S54 headers, they require a lot of modification to fit. Going to the S54 headers add a bit of drone and rasp to the setup, but should add more power since they're equal length and a bigger diameter than the active Autowork headers. This setup's from a friend of mine, Slow E82 on Instagram and YouTube. He has headers and basically a full straight pipe. It's a 3-inch single exhaust with just a Vibrant 1792 resonator in the middle. This is an extremely loud setup and definitely has drone. He has said it doesn't sound good at low RPMs, but it sounds absolutely crazy at full throttle high RPM. For the last setup here, we've got headers with a single 3-inch exhaust. It's got a Vibrant 17950 resonator and a Vibrant TPV muffler. This setup does drone, but it does have a nice sound throughout the rev range. The drone is just on the highway when you're cruising. At full throttle, it has a beautiful inline 6-note, very clean sound to it. That's gonna wrap up this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not already in my Discord, there's a link in the description. It's for N52 and N51 owners. So if you're not already in there, feel free to join. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.